I'm Bill Crum for News OK and the Oklahoman. With us today is Marcia Slaughter, who is the Utilities Director for the City of Oklahoma City. We're going to talk about Oklahoma City's plans in the early stages of development to begin using wastewater, treated wastewater, and putting it back into the drinking water system. Marcia, it's good to see you today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Bill.
We'll kind of start at the beginning. Where does Oklahoma City get its water, drinking water now, and about how much do we drink in a day or a year?
So we get our water from both the southeast Oklahoma that comes up to the Lake Draper, and northwest Oklahoma that comes into Lakes Hafner and Overholser. So 6 total lakes supply us with water. Last year we used 93 million gallons of water every day. 93 million gallons every day, and does it fluctuate during the year, go up in the summer? It does. We've had a high of about 205 million gallons in a day, and the low is usually Christmas Day at about 68.
Ah, Christmas Day. That's interesting. Wastewater, about how much wastewater does the city produce then?
Our customers return about 63 million gallons of wastewater a day. I think last year the official number was 62 million gallons.
And it's treated and goes back into streams.
It is.
4 plants?
Yes, there are 4 plants each on separate watersheds: Chisholm Creek, South Canadian, North Canadian, and Deer Creek.
Okay. And the city has concerns about its water supply. The city's building a new pipeline from southeast Oklahoma from the reservoirs down there and working to acquire more water from there. The North Canadian River is, I believe I was reading today, a firm
yield
of about 35,000 acre feet a year.
That's right. That's about 15,000 acre feet less than we originally thought, and that's just a change in what we're seeing in the watershed itself. There's no specific reason. We just have been through a time when we've realized that what we had planned on may not be there. And as we went through this lengthy for us, although short for the Earth, dry period from 2011 until now, it's caused us to think seriously about reliability and what our options were to make certain that we kept everyone in plenty of drinking water.
Okay. The drought then figures into the planning ahead for water needs in Oklahoma City. And of course, the city is growing. Oklahoma City, in addition, has a water for 2060 goal of not using any more water statewide in 2060 than the state used in 2012. Does that figure into, or does Oklahoma City share that goal with the state?
Sure. Well, the state's goal is very important to us, of course. It's something that we'll work on as an entire state body. We have a role in that. We use about 150,000 acre feet of water in a typical year right now. That makes us by no means the largest user in the state, but a significant user. So we know we have a role to play in meeting that goal.
Agriculture is the big user of water, I think, in Oklahoma. Is that correct?
They're a very large user of water in Oklahoma.
Right. Is Oklahoma City, as far as municipalities go, is it the biggest user?
I think Tulsa may actually be the biggest user of
water
on a daily basis. I think their treatment is a little bit higher than ours.
Interesting. Oklahoma City is treating and recycling quite a bit of water already. What is Oklahoma City doing to treat and recycle water, and where is that water used?
Sure. So we reuse treated wastewater from three of our different wastewater treatment plants. The two treatment plants provide water to 2 individual power plants, and those are used in the manufacturing process. A third plant provides irrigation water to a golf course.
Okay, so Deer Creek, it provides the irrigation water to Gaillardia, the Gaillardia development.
It does.
And they treat that water in addition to the treatment it gets otherwise. They treat it with UV rays.
That's correct.
Or UV light, I guess, ultraviolet light, by the way, which kills microorganisms and helps make it safe to return it to a use like irrigation.
It does. The wastewater, treated wastewater is very high quality to start with, and then it's filtered, it's disinfected with chlorine, and then finally it gets an ultraviolet light treatment that kills a lot of things that chlorine might not.
Mm-hmm. You reuse wastewater already.
We do. We reuse about 10% of our treated wastewater is reused every year. It's about an average of between 6 and 8 million gallons a day out of our 62 million gallons a day or 63 million gallons of treated wastewater.
And then we also see water that has come from wastewater treatment plants upriver on the North Canadian, I believe in Watonga and Yukon, is that correct? That comes down the North Canadian, and eventually that water, it's treated to the standards that are required to discharge it into the North Canadian River, but it comes down and eventually gets into Oklahoma City's drinking water system, right?
Sure, exactly as it happens in most places in the United States. There are very few water supply lakes that don't have some level of reused water going into them.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's downstream
of somewhere.
Just about from somewhere, right? Let's talk a little bit about Oklahoma City's plans. I know, if I understand it correctly, it's still 4 or 5 years away from the city beginning to pump highly treated wastewater back into Lake Hefner to be returned into the drinking water system. But tell us, if you don't mind, a little bit about the plans as they stand now.
Sure, we've completed a study that tells us what the most practical thing to do is for reuse. If we want to implement reuse, pumping water from the Deer Creek wastewater treatment plant to Lake Hefner is a good option to consider. But that requires a lot of additional work. We will have to look at, first we'll start with some what are called bench tests from laboratory test results to look at what's in detail in that treated wastewater a regular day and how it changes through the year and what might work. It's the first step is figuring out what things would you have to do to treat the wastewater, add additional treatment. Now the plan gives us some really good ideas about that because there are some national studies that have gone on and lots of people have done this before us. So we're looking toward what has been done and what has worked. Then we get to where we're applying it to Oklahoma City and our water supply and our lake. And so then we look at, probably we run what's called a pilot plant where we run something that acts like the Hefner water treatment plant. So we see how the plant will theoretically do, again, in a two-scale kind of basis, so it's a good estimate of how the plant will perform. With the addition, we look at different mixes of how, is 10% of the total water going through the plant going to work, then is 20%, then is it what that should be. But then separately, you have to look at what's going on in the lake. If the treated wastewater is going into the lake, you want to know what's going to happen to that ecosystem entirely. So you're looking at both nutrients, but also chemicals that are in wastewater, even though we will have worked hard to take those out before the water goes into the lake. What kind of what's called bioaccumulation of materials might occur, because we certainly want the lake to. We want the lake's fish to be just as good as they are today. We want the ecosystem health of the lake to be just as good, if not better, than it is today. So we have a lot of scientific work to do before we start the human factors work of telling people what we learned in a way that's understandable. Both of which are hard.
I think the goal of the technical folks, the scientists and engineers who work on this, is to produce water that is flowing back into the reservoirs or lakes that is of higher quality than what's coming down the river, for instance.
Yes, we believe that that's very achievable, but we haven't fully tested it. As I said, we've looked at it on paper, and now it's time to go into the additional details to make certain that that's true before any pump gets built or turned on.
And again, that's a process that's going to unfold over several years.
It will. We tend to be a pretty scientific organization. That's true of all water operations, drinking water operations particularly, but I can tell you that it is, we consider it our job to produce the best quality drinking water we can for our customers. We don't, even though we have this interesting new idea, we don't waver from that overall goal. Our goal is to do it the best we can. We will look for the holes in the process that might hurt our water quality and make certain that those are either not there or that we have triple treated to make certain that they don't impact us in any way. It's very important to us.
Now, Deer Creek is in far northwest Oklahoma City. It's at about 206th, I think, and in Portland, way out there. The water that comes out of that treatment plant now is very clean, and you can. It's very clear when you see it. The Deer Creek itself is, at least these days, pretty muddy and pretty red. But the area around where the effluent, which is the technical term, comes out is just perfectly clear water. That water looks great. It comes out. This additional treatment will be aimed at taking what kind of stuff out of the water? Because we know a lot of the stuff that comes into the plant already, the vast majority of it is out before it goes back into the creek.
Yes.
Now,
well, look at things that people use every day. Ibuprofen. There are tests that the EPA has identified for looking at things that they're called tracer tests that look at things that we as human beings might have put in the water that we send to the wastewater treatment plant. Okay. And then we will make certain that we have tested for those in an adequate way to know that they are gone or or that they're so tiny we can't find them, with tests that go to the parts per billion and parts per trillion.
Okay, and these are the kind of things, like you mentioned, ibuprofen, other kinds of chemicals that are medicine, basically, that we take into our bodies in order to maintain or improve our health.
Exactly.
And those things, the residues at least, remnants, something from those things that we take in, are eventually flushed out. They go through the system and they go through the wastewater treatment plant.
Yes. The good thing about the Deer Creek plant, though, is that it's a biologic. First of all, it is a very high-performing plant, but it also has really only home uses. There are no industries discharging, no heavy industries discharging into the wastewater stream.
It's residential.
It's very residential, and while that's from my perspective, that's a good thing because it helps us define more closely what kinds of things we'll have to monitor for as we begin this testing process. We're going to look for things that happen from regular humans day in, day out to start with.
Yeah, and I understand the treatment plant out in Jones that discharges into the North Canadian has more industrial customers, if that's the right word. There's more industrial waste that is processed through that plant. Between now and when the plant comes online, you mentioned the pilot project, for instance. Are there 2 or 3 things that really stand out, the tests that the new system needs to pass before it goes online?
Well, we'll have to make certain, yes. It's about the bioassays, what happens in the lake itself, and the biota that are the things that live in the lake. And then what happens through the treatment process? Is there a guaranteed process that belts and suspenders will make certain that those tiny things that perhaps aren't regulated by the Environmental Protection Agency, but are a concern for people, those have been dealt with,
right,
and removed reliably. Okay. It's a tough challenge.
You confident that you're an engineer, right?
I am.
Confident the scientific and technical engineering team that you've put together, and consultants, people on the staff, will be able to meet the challenge?
Yes.
And that the technology will get us where we need to be?
Yes, I am. I think the other side of that is, can we make this something that our customers, that will be acceptable to our customers. That's its own special challenge. I think it's going to be about making certain we've done all of the scientific homework first, and be able to show that in fact it works and will work reliably. Those are two different questions. Just got to work 100% of the time.
And how, I know there's another piece of this, and that is reassuring customers that the water will be safe to
Yes.
drink for them and their children. What can the folks who are watching and who are consumers of Oklahoma City Water expect to hear over the next few years about the progress of this and in the way of reassurances with regard to safety?
So, Bill, we're working on a communication plan now that will describe milestones at which we can communicate with customers. We're getting more savvy about media uses and how we can provide information to folks electronically, which we do already, as well as some of the social media. So we're not quite sure all of what we'll be doing, but it is important to me. Bottom line, we make your drinking water. We're really good at it. We're really proud that we are, and we will not compromise quality for our customers.
Of the water. Okay, very good. I'm Bill Crum, again for News OK and the Oklahoman. We've been speaking with Marcia Slaughter about Oklahoma City's plans to begin using, and still a few years down the road, wastewater and treating it, highly treating it, before it goes back into Lake Hefner and goes back into the drinking water system. Marcia is the Utilities Director for the City of Oklahoma City. Thank you.
Thank you.